is up, YouTube? I am Eric and you are watching Retro Video Game Pickups. In this video we are talking about GameStop Retro Store and what that means to me and what the issues I have with that. So if you like games, consoles, or product reviews, please consider subscribing and hitting that bell notification. With that being said, let's hop into it. Okay, so GameStop is rolling out a new version of their store with the GameStop 2.0 store, as well as rolling out a retro store. Now, what this means is they pretty much are the same thing except for the back half, and we'll get into that. But the normal store here, I'll give you guys a little rundown about that, then we'll go to the retro store, is the new store, the 2.0 that it's referred to, is up front, it's the game store, and in the back, it is like a place where you can go and play games for apparently money now. They used to be free when I opened here, where I live. But what I want to talk about is the front half of the store had a couch, it had a big screen TV, it had a wall of controllers, and then it had what you would expect: Xbox One, PS4, and Nintendo Switch. That's it. That's all you saw. That was the only thing on the shelves, unless it was like their thingy kind of section, which had like shirts and merch and stuff like that. That wasn't games. But overall, that's all you got. In the back, you had Xbox Ones, you had PS4 Pros, Xbox One X's, PS4 Pros, Nintendo Switch, and like Alienware PCs. And so that was cool. I thought, okay, this was something new. They're doing something smart. Now it's gonna cost you money, and I'm not here to whine about that, even though I think it's crazy. The first 15 minutes are free, and then you have to pay like $5 an hour. Come on, GameStop, get it together wherever you give those gamers that are members at least 5 hours of free play a month or something like that. Come on, guys, what are you thinking? But that's not what this video is about. This video is purely about the retro store, or at least the majority of it is that. Now, I wanted to preface this with the 2.0 store because that will kind of give you a glimpse of what the retro store looks like. If you've seen a 2.0 store, you've almost seen kind of what the retro one will look like. Now, there is a retro game store that's at GameStop about 45 minutes away from me. So you guys know when it opened up, I had to go over there. I videoed it, made a video about it, and let you guys know what I think. So the way that it's set up is the front half is like the 2.0 store, and the back half is also like the 2.0 store, but there's a little bit of a twist. You've got your Xbox One, you've got your PS4, and you've got the Nintendo Switch very well represented at that Game Store Retro Store, or GameStop Retro Store. I'm gonna be all confused by the end of this, but on the front half, you've got a bunch of stuff that's either Xbox One, PS4, or Nintendo Switch. Now, there were some like PS3 games, Wii games, Wii U games, Wii games, 3DS, and PlayStation 3 games, just kind of in the middle on one of those racks, kind of there just because they had to. And then there was one display about the size of about one of these rectangles here with retro stuff in it. I remember the top one, and I'll try to show pictures if I still have them. I remember the top one that had just kind of the games laid out, and then it had like a few consoles underneath it. And there was another one that was like that on the other wall, but it had like Xbox Ones, PS4s, Switches, and like Xbox 360s and PS3s. But that was about all you noticed at the front half of the store that was retro. Like, I could have walked in there, walked around, and been like, this is a GameStop store, and just been, okay, whatever. Now, the back half is where they make their money, being a retro store. And I'm gonna complain about some stuff later, but in the back half, they had some big CRTs, they had some Sony Trinitrons, the big heavy ones, like the 32-inch ones. I think I have one in the garage. That weighs like 150 pounds. Do not buy one of those if you're not prepared, because they weigh a ton. Do not get one unless you have the structure to hold those things up. And that's exactly the opposite of what they were doing at these GameStops. They had like the cheapest plastic tables that you could find with these CRTs on them. They had 2 on them. So I'm just wondering how long until that TV is too heavy for that table and it just falls and everything crashes. Now I say that because I actually have one of those 32-inch TVs. They're heavy. They're not fun to move. I've had to move one myself and it was not fun. Moving it with 2 or 3 people is ideal. But I used to have this entertainment stand that was rated for up to 150, 175 pounds, I believe. And I had it set up in the game room. And it bowed. So it started to bow and I immediately pulled it off, and I don't set it on there anymore. I actually don't use that. You guys can see I use the small one. It just fits well and works well. But that's going to be a big problem from GameStop. They have to first off, find all these Sony Trinitrons or CRTs in general that are big enough to make it worth having and playing on, and let alone, like, they don't have the structure to hold these things. And I have a bad feeling, and I hope this never falls on a kid or falls on someone, because that's a big deal. That's a big lawsuit, and GameStop will be responsible for it. But that was the first thing I noticed. I sat down and I was like, alright, cool. I'll play Dr. Mario. I loved that game. It was fun. I sat back, chilled. I played it and had some fun. I got the second high score and stopped. I was like, I'm not playing this anymore. We're an hour away from home. We gotta keep going and then come back. So we did that. And one thing I noticed is they had a board on the back, like a dry erase board that just had like some games for like the Wii's. They had like original Xbox games. I think they had PlayStation 1 games up there, NES, SNES, and 64 games. I think that's all that I remember. But they were all written up there, and I was like, alright, cool. They have some Xbox games. Alright, that's cool. And so I was like, alright, cool. How do I look at what Xbox games I can buy? And they're like, well, what do you want? And I was like, well, I don't really know. Do you guys have a way for me to look at them? Or is there a way for me to see the list or whatever? So the guy prints off the list for me. And I'm like, alright, cool. There's a few games in there. I want to say they had, I think at the time I was looking for Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance 2 on the Xbox. I have it now, obviously, but I was looking and I saw it on there and I was like, alright, cool, I want to get this game. And then I was like, there's one more. I'll pick a random game. I don't even really remember what it was. But he says, yeah, let me go look for them. And then they're like, okay, well, where are they? So they start looking in the drawers, which I'll get to in a minute. They can't find it. And so about 5 minutes later, they're like, hey, we can't find these games. It says we have them in store, but we can't find them. And I said, well, I saw them on the board back in the back. Does that matter? And they said, oh yeah, we can't sell those. I was like, you guys have, at the time, it was 16 Xbox games. They had listed every one on that whiteboard, and I couldn't buy any of them, which I think is a big deal. I don't think some people are going to go in looking to sit down and play these games. If I see a game that I want to buy, and you have it, it says you can sell it to me, and I look at it and you say I can't sell it because it's back there in the disc for the disc case, we're not selling it, it's just going to piss people off. Like, come on, what are you thinking? But that leads me to the next thing, is these drawers. And I think I have video of it somewhere. I'll have to go back and look. I hope I still have it. There actually didn't have, I would say, looking at it, they probably had about 5% of all the retro games, not consoles, we're not talking about consoles, just retro games on display. I was like, okay, well, what do you guys have? And the guy's like, well, we have a bunch of Nintendo 64 games. And I'm like, okay, cool. Well, can I look through what you have? And he's like, yeah, let me, and he pulls out the drawer and starts showing me. So I'm like, all right, cool. I collect a bunch of retro stuff. I tell this guy, hey, I like retro stuff. I don't say, hey, I've got a channel. I don't say I have an Instagram. I just say, hey, I like retro stuff. We came from about an hour away, the city we live in. And he was like, all right, yeah, cool. We talked about stuff. He pulls out these drawers, and we're kind of going through. I literally am searching through these. I've got my phone kind of at an angle where I can record kind of what it looks like, but they're just kind of, you guys know how the spines of Nintendo 64 games are not marked. They're in these Ziploc bags that aren't marked. They have like the barcode stuck to them, but like you have to like literally flip through everyone. They're not in alphabetical order just to find the game you want. And so I dug all the way through that. I found one game. I bought it, but I was like, okay, cool. I saw the 64 games. Do you have any NES games, SNES games? What do you got for GameCube? What do you got for... I had already asked for Xbox at this point, and so he literally just opened it up and said, yeah, go ahead and look, which is cool, and I'm glad that he did that. Thank you for that, honestly. But that's something I want to see. I want to be able to walk up and see a Nintendo 64 game. I know they're going to be hard to display, but maybe you display the Super Nintendo games like this, or like this with the NES games. I want to see those on display, and that's something that really kills me with these stores, is they say they're a retro store, but they only had like 20 or 30 games max displayed that were retro, and that killed me inside. You guys know I love video games, especially retro games, and so when I go into a retro store, I like to browse. I have a ton of games behind me. You guys can see that. I am not bragging. I just like to look at games, and maybe I'll find something I didn't have, and that's how I picked up the Nintendo 64 game. But honestly, that is going to be the downfall of these retro stores. None of the games are displayed. I decided to make this video because recently I saw some people on Twitter posting with GameStop and saying, oh, we went to the retro store, it was so much fun, so cool. And I think the back half is cool, don't get me wrong, that is where it's at. But if you gotta pay for it, that's pointless. Give those pro members 5 hours of playtime. Give them some fun. Get them in the store so they'll stay in the store and spend money on drinks or snacks, which is actually what we did when we were there. We bought some, I think I bought a drink and my friend bought some snacks. I bought a game eventually, but that's how you get money. And not by charging people up front to play. Okay, maybe after 10 hours of play in the store, we want you to pay for this, but honestly, come on now. Power to the players. Where's it at? I don't see it. And I feel bad because I see these Twitter posts, which is actually why I'm ranting about this. And I didn't want to rant about this, but it kind of got under my skin. I tweeted the person, they never said anything back. But I said, hey, what's up with all those games? All the retro games are in drawers. No one can see them. That sucks. Bring those games out to play. This area that I live in is about 45 minutes from the town. The town is a small town. It's not a small town, but it's not a huge town. It has a retro game store that's like a mom and pop store. That place is gonna get a bunch more credit than this GameStop will. Especially when I can go online and have GameStop deliver it to my door. I don't know. The prices were GameStop prices. It's exactly what you would get if you were looking online. I mean, you know what to look out for. But I liked it, but I had problems with some of it. So the guys that work there were cool. Everything about it in the back half was really cool. You could have a bunch of different systems there. They had a Retron 5 playing most of the games, which is what I would expect. I'm not faulting them for that. But I saw the original Xbox hooked up. I could have played one of those 16 games. If I had time, I probably would have. But I have problems with it. And I wish that they would change this. So, is GameStop's retro store worth it? I don't know. I can't tell you because I don't see it as a retro store. I see it as a regular GameStop with some CRTs and some systems in the back that you can play. And so I think that's where GameStop really messed up here. So I'm sorry for this long-winded rant about GameStop, but I have a passion for games, you guys can tell, and retro games are something not to be taken lightly, obviously, and I think GameStop hasn't done it right. So GameStop, if you watch this, get with me. I'm glad to talk to you guys about what I think you guys could do to better this store. If not, whatever, but I want to say thank you to everyone that's watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell notification because it lets you know when I post more videos, which is every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And one more time, guys, thank you so much for watching, and make sure you have a good day.